Check out this thing. Absolute art and function colliding. What's up guys, Dan here, Coalcracker Bushcraft. So this is one of the benches that was made during a recent Bushman class. We actually put a backrest on this one. So pretty fun little project. Students get the opportunity to indulge in a little bit of camp furniture creation, which is definitely probably on a lot of your lists to do. It makes camp life just so much more enjoyable when you have a nice place to sit or a nice place to work, be it a sawbuck, a shave horse, a bench, maybe just even a little stool with just 3 legs. Any of those things, they can be fun projects for you to do while you're in the outdoors. But one problem that we constantly run into with benches and stools like this is the legs fall out over time. So that's where Coalcracker comes in to help. So ideal scenario is going to be that you have a green bench top with dried legs. And the reason for that is when you put them in and you have a nice tight fit, as the top bench portion shrinks, okay, because it's drying out and the water is leaving it, it's going to get tighter and tighter and tighter on the legs. The problem is we don't always have the perfect world when we're out here. So sometimes we're dealing with green wood legs and a dry top, or we're dealing with 2 dried pieces or 2 green pieces. And when that happens, we generally, over time, we have loose legs and they usually fall out when we start moving the benches around, which can be a dangerous thing, especially if you are using it for a cutting type setup, right? So it's like a sawbuck, or if it's a bench and the leg falls out and you're flipping backwards on it, okay? So we want to be able to take care of that stuff. So initially, when we put this stuff together, you're going to auger a hole into the bench itself, and then you're going to match the leg size and you're going to jam the leg in, hammer it in, and you're going to be good to go. Now there's little tips and tricks with that, but that's the general gist of it. So what happens when the legs get loose and they start to fall out? Well, there's an easy quick fix for it. You just need your saw and your axe, and you need to get some work done. Now, before we get into that tip, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Woodworkers Guild of America. So today's video is sponsored by Woodworkers Guild of America, an online training resource that is going to bring you all the information on topics, project ideas, and techniques you need around woodworking and the woodworking lifestyle. Very awesome stuff on there. Live feeds, question and answer with experts, and topics that include literally everything to do with woodworking. So I was looking for a new bandsaw for the shop, so I got to watch videos on bandsaws and bandsaw hacks and tricks, and then there's sharpening videos on there, traditional hand tools, more modern tool use, how to set up your shop. And then when it comes to projects, it's endless. There is so much stuff on there. You're definitely going to find different things that you like. So it's a very, very cool educational platform that you can go on and really, really enjoy. Now, what I set up with them for all of you is that all new subscribers to the Woodworkers Guild of America, you have to be a new subscriber, okay? You're going to hit that link down below, and the first 1,000 that do that will get a year-long membership to the Woodworkers Guild of America for $1.49. Yes, that is correct, $1.49. So you can't beat that, okay? You can't beat it, and you get so much good information. So when you're not watching Coalcracker, you can go on there and you can learn all type of tips and tricks when it comes to woodworking, which carries over perfectly for what we do out here. Even today, what we're doing, you can probably find some tricks on this too to take it to the next level. So thank you, Woodworkers Guild of America, for sponsoring this video, and all of you, click that link down below and sign up now. Okay, so here is the leg that now came out of the stool, okay? The little sample piece that I made up. This thing shrunk down and now it's falling out. So how are we gonna tighten that thing up? So the first step that you're gonna do is you're gonna take that leg that came out of your stool or your workpiece, and you're gonna cut a kerf in it. That is just a simple cut line with your saw. So you can see I made one right here, and that's gonna create something very similar to the kerf on the top of our axe, right? On the axe handle itself, there's that cut, and then we insert what? A wedge, and that wedge opens up that piece of wood and makes it tight. So it's going to be the same exact thing. So you're going to go ahead, you're going to make yourself a wedge, and now in this case though, because the wedge is going to be set back into the hole that it came out of with the leg, you need to make sure two things. Number one, that the wedge itself is the exact same width as your workpiece. So in this case, I carved that down. It can even be a little bit narrower than our workpiece. We don't want it bigger because, again, that hole that this is going to be going into is still going to be somewhat snug. It's just not going to be super tight like we want it. And then the second part of this is that we want our wedge itself, okay, to be just a little bit higher than the cut itself, okay? If it's too high out the back like this, our leg's not going to seat all the way. Now we're going to get wobble in our workpiece. And then if it's shorter, meaning that, let's say we can set the wedge this deep, when we pound this inside, it's only going to set even with the top here, okay? So you're going to make yourself up a wedge. And then what you're actually going to do is you're going to start the wedge just by hand. So this is what it's going to look like. And then we're going to insert it into the hole on our bench. All right, so one thing that we need to understand when it comes to this stuff is grain structure. That is going to be important when inserting our new leg. So the workpiece that I have here is what the students built. Perfect example of maybe what you don't want to do, but it's going to show good for grain structure overall, okay, this example. So when they inserted this leg, what happened was there was a lot of pressure up and down that direction on the bench itself. So as we did that, what it did was it actually split the piece of wood like a splitting wedge would do. So you put your axe in there and you hammer it down and it pushes the grain apart, causing a split right there, okay? We don't want that to happen. So how would we combat that? So this happened, this crack, because again, we had pressure up and down. So now what we want to do is we want to put pressure side to side per se. So we want the pressure to come back towards me and out in that direction. So if we take our wedged piece before we insert it, okay, we think when the wedge goes in, how is it going to treat the wood? So if the wedge goes in this way, it's going to add pressure that way and that way as it goes in on our new leg, okay? It's going to push that way and this way, opening up, creating it really tight, not splitting the wood out any further. If we would take it and do this and insert it, as I hammer this in and the top and the bottom of this piece open up to create tension, what's that going to do? It's going to create tension along the grain, and it's going to open up our split or create a new split, even more weakening the bench itself. So it's very important when we do this, okay, that we don't set it in that way. So we want to make sure that we create tension this way and this way to the grain, so opposite the grain, not with the grain. So now that we understand grain structure of wood, it is time to insert our wedge. So inserting our wedge opposite the way the grain runs is going to be very important. So we would slide that down inside the hole. This is going to fit really easily now because remember, this leg was already loose and came out easily. So putting it back in, it's going to just slide right inside. And then what you're going to do is you're going to begin to tap. Now as you do that and you insert the leg in, you're going to create a great amount of tension on that wood, and it's going to secure that really tightly inside. Now one thing that you might notice if you do this technique is you might get some run out on the grain of the leg itself. That is not a huge deal because there's going to be so much tension in this upper part of that stool that all of that's going to bind that up, and it's not going to be an issue whatsoever. So it's just part of outdoor woodworking. You just got to accept what nature does sometimes, but this is a good easy fix for that. Pound that leg down inside, use the wedge, open up the wood, and you will be good to go. And just like that, another video all wrapped up, another tool for the toolbox. Definitely a great skill that you should know and you might have to employ at some point in your outdoor career. So thanks for joining us on this video. Remember, also hit that link, Woodworkers Guild of America. That link, you can sign up. You're going to absolutely love it, and thanks for them for sponsoring the video. And then our stuff also, Coalcrackerbushcraft.com. Definitely check all that out. Classes, gear, blog, all the good stuff. And until next video, stay in the woods.